Hi, I'm Lou Ann Hammond, DrivingTheNation.com. I am here with Derek Jenkins, the Director of Design for Mazda North America. What segment does this fall into, Derek?
Well, you know, this is interesting because this is kind of a fairly young segment that's been emerging over the last few years or so, which would be kind of a subcompact crossover. So this represents our first attempt at that, coming into that segment.
Give me a little bit of design proportion of what makes this different from the CX-5.
Yeah. Well, first of all, obviously it's a little bit more compact, so the class has dropped down a size, but you can see the proportion of the car is also dramatically different than CX-5. The lower half of the car is very kind of SUV-like. It's got that robust quality, strong fenders, strong stance, where the upper half of the car is much more coupe-like and gives it that sleek, dynamic quality.
Now you say lower half and upper half, but if I remember right, last time we talked, you said 2/3 to 1/3.
Right, right.
So
and that's a little bit the case. We kind of have a 2/3 body volume to 1/3 cabin, and that's kind of a magic formula for getting more of a coupe-like quality. And you know, we've managed to get a lot of strength in the fenders of this car. They're very contoured, and the weight of the body really sculpts down to the wheels. The corners are really pushed out to the edges, and that's what gives it that very strong stance. And I think that actually is quite unique in this segment, because the cars that are currently in this segment are actually quite boxy and more kind of visually utility oriented, and we wanted something that was a lot more emotional. This car sits below CX-5, so it's roughly in the area of the Mazda 3. And if you think of the material quality for a subcompact crossover, I think this car will absolutely be a benchmark for this segment. And you hit it exactly to the point. We have a really nice baseline graining across the upper dash. Then you come through, we have our leather wrap surfaces. You can see we're using a lot of piano lacquer and metallic bright work. And then you see our metal finishes down below here and then on the door. And we even have these finer, more subtle touches, which are more of a composite mesh look. And the other thing you'll see is we have our latest in Mazda Connect display. We have that on top of the dash. The position is really important because this high mounting position allows your visibility to be very focused on the road, and to come down to the screen, the latency between viewing the road and viewing the screen is reduced to the absolute minimum, and that helps obviously for safety.
And you've got a heads-up display.
We also have a heads-up display. This is also part of the Mazda interior technology package, and that's something that we continue to develop. And then the seating. The seating is another big point between the perforation, contrast stitching, and just the grain quality of the leathers really at a whole new level for us. Being with this Kodo generation of vehicles, we're still very focused on a driver-oriented position. What that means is that you have a very compact engine, instrument cluster, and kind of everything is close in reach of the driver rather than spreading things out over a large area. And that's what, when you sit in a Mazda, you really feel like it's business. It's time to go drive, and that's priority number one.